Hello, in this video I'm going to show you the basics of working with layers. Layers are extremely important in Photoshop, and if you're not using them then I would say you're probably using Photoshop wrong. They're the one absolutely essential thing to think about, use, learn in Photoshop. It's kind of what Photoshop is all about. So this is the layers panel down here. At the moment it's empty because we don't have a document open here. If you do want to open the layers panel and you can't see it anywhere, you just need to go to Window up here and then Layers. You can also check that to close it as well. You notice there that we have a shortcut of F7. That means that rather than going up there and selecting layers, you can just press F7 on your keyboard and that will open and close, if you just keep pressing, the layers panel. You'll notice that with the layers panel comes channels and paths, but we're just sticking with layers today. So if we do open a document right now, I'm just going to get one and drag one in real quick. I've got this landscape here, and this opens as a background image. At the moment it's locked, which gives us this lock icon here, and you will find with Photoshop when you hover over things it tells you what they mean. So if you just take the time to read things and just don't panic and take it slowly, Photoshop pretty much tells you everything you need to know. Then if you look at this little eye icon, if we click that, that turns the layer off. But because this is the only layer and it's locked, we can't do that. So if we unlock it, we just click that lock like I just did then becomes layer 0 and we can turn it off. Underneath it, it's just transparency, turn it back on. So now our background layer isn't locked anymore. When it was locked, we were unable to edit it, but now it's unlocked, we can edit it as we please. We can also duplicate this layer. So if I just right click here, I can then click duplicate layer. As you can see, there's plenty of other options as well, but we're going to duplicate that. We can give that layer a name, or we can just leave it as layer 0 copy. I would advise if you're using a lot of layers to name them for your own reference, if nothing else. Click OK. We can then edit that layer and not affect the layer beneath it. There's heaps of different ways that we can use layers, and I'm just trying to demonstrate to you how they appear in this box and what will affect each thing. But you are not restricted just to do these kinds of processes with layers. I'm just going to go up here and quickly edit the brightness and the contrast of this image. And you can see a slight difference in the images down here. It does represent how it actually is in this little thumbnail down here, but they are very small. And we could now change the name of this one to edited. So you can change it at any time. And if you type any text, it usually comes out here as whatever you've typed in the text. So I'll just show you that. If I type text, it always creates another layer. You see the layer appeared there automatically. And then if I put mountains there and just drag that in, let's make it a little smaller, and we could pop that there. You can see that's its own layer and it remains editable as a text layer. Another thing that we can do, if I just pop this here just to demonstrate, and if I want to create a layer above this layer, I can just, there's a few different ways I can do it. The way I find the easiest is to just use shortcuts. You can just click here to create a new layer, but you can also press Ctrl, Shift and N on your keyboard and it will create a new layer which you can name here. You can set all kinds of attributes to that layer. For now we're just going to leave it as it is. And that layer appears in between those two layers. It will always make it above. If I want to change the position of that layer, I can just click and drag that layer. So I'm just going to take my Marquee tool, which is M. It's this one here and it's M on the keyboard as a shortcut. Drag it out. Then select my paint bucket tool, which is G. This one here. And I've got white, so that's fine. Just click in there to fill that. I'm going to select my move tool and just deselect by pressing Ctrl D to get rid of that selection box around there. So I would like my white box to show what's underneath it from this layer underneath. So I'm going to switch the opacity here of this layer that is selected to 50%. And see, I just changed it there. Make sure when you're done changing the opacity, you always click off that layer. Just click somewhere in this box. And that, or alternatively, if you have a full layer box, you can just click your move tool again, just to click away from this opacity box because it has a tendency to remain editable if you don't. So you can see now we can see what's underneath because this has an opacity of 50%. And now if I drag that layer down here, you can see it disappears because it's behind this one. Again, if I turn off this layer, which was the one that we edited the brightness and contrast of, you can see the original image underneath. So it's a good way of doing things to put them on other layers so that so you're not editing the original, and also you can see how far you've come and you can take parts from it at any time. Apart from using these buttons down here to work with layers, which you can do to create new layers, you can create folders of layers, you can bin your layer if you want to, delete it, or you can just press the delete key on your keyboard. There's shortcuts, there's this panel here, but there's also this drop down up here, and this gives various options as well. You can lock layers. Again, the shortcuts are on the end of the line that you see the actual instruction on. And you can also merge two layers together. So if you decide you don't want to edit them anymore, or you want them to be on one layer, you can merge down the whole thing, or you can just merge one onto the other. If I select this edited one and then I press Ctrl E on my keyboard, it will merge that down to the other layer. And if I decided I didn't want to do that, I can just press Ctrl Z and that will open them up again. So that's a little bit about layers. I hope that's been informative to you, and I'll see you in the next video.